Hey, what's up everyone? Hope you're all having a wonderful time. Here a quick guide on the Echo Warpath Void Knight in Last Epoch. The Echo Warpath Void Knight is a very simple and beginner-friendly build that uses the skill Warpath as our main damage ability, which is like the Whirlwind from Diablo or Cyclone from Path of Exile, if you're more familiar with one of those games. By being a Void Knight as our master class, we get access to echoes that have a chance to repeat our attacks or spells for a short duration. With the right investment, we can get some pretty decent boss damage by also getting in the right position, making ourselves and the echoes do like a shotgun effect. The bigger boss, the easier this will be. You can easily get to the endgame without having any uniques, even though there are quite a bit that you can use to your benefits. And the ones I'm using for this build got a pretty low effective level of the legendary potential on them, meaning that it's easier to get more legendary potential on those unique items. We're using a couple of other skills to boost damage even further. We're using Sigils of Hope from the Paladin skill tree, which provides both flat and a percentage damage to the build. Devouring Orb for even more damage and also some chance to apply Time Rot. Volatile Reversal will reverse the mana after we use all the previous skills to buff our character. And also this provides some extra bonuses to the build and makes the enemy take increased damage. Lastly, we're using the skill Smite mainly as a mobility skill if we need it. We also gain a small boost to damage for a short duration after we use it as well. For defense, we got a pretty high health base and some different sources of damage reductions. The build got some high health leech rates, so as long as you continue to spin around dealing damage, you're pretty much only going to die against one-shots. Some pros for this build: it got some good map clear, it's a fast build overall, and by having a lot of uniques, most are fairly common, which will be great for the legendary potential. And this build is also very beginner friendly to start with. For the cons, all the loot will drop behind you pretty much. Usually echoes from the skill will kill the enemies. Also, it do lack some single targets. For the uniques for this build we're going for Bleeding Heart, which is a great amulet for a lot of builds. We gain a ton of damage leech as health, and also the base itself provides melee attack speed, which helps for this build. We don't regen the life, so the less regen mod doesn't really affect us that much. Titan Heart makes us take less damage while wielding a two-hander. We gain some increased melee damage and also a huge chunk of increased health. And this chest makes it so we are not being able to regen our health, but as I mentioned before, this doesn't really matter because all of the life leech that we have on this build. Dark Strides provides some great stats for this build, and not only does it have some flat melee void damage, increased void damage, decent move speed, but we gain a unique modifier here which makes it so we gain even more move speed per added melee void damage. And as this current setup that we have here, we gain around 45% move speed from just this modifier alone. Quicksilver Coil is a unique ring mostly used by rogues, but with its low effective level 4 legendary potential, it's quite common to drop with 2 or 3 LP on the ring. We gain some move speed from the base, melee attack speed for damage, and also here we get the chance to gain haste for 1 second on hit for even more movement speed. And the great thing is that the hits from our echoes also trigger this effect, so it's pretty much up all of the time. The next 3 items is going to be from the Shades of Orbos and can start to drop at different level of corruption. The first is called Siphon of Anguish, and here we get both melee and void damage leech as life, increased leech rate, move speed, chance to apply doom, which make the target take void damage over time and also make it take increased melee damage. And lastly, some extra void penetration for the doom. And this item will start to drop right away. Next is Apathy's Maw, and here we get some big numbers of melee void damage, chance to apply doom, increased duration and penetration for the doom, increased melee damage and also leech rate. And this weapon can start to drop once you reach 50 corruption. I also like to mention, for this character I did half the leveling with the unique sword Last Laugh, which I had with melee crit chance as a legendary potential on, which also worked very well until I got my Apathy's Maw. And just to make this clear, you don't need a unique weapon for this build to work. Just get a normal rare one with added melee, crit and also void damage here. This will work as well to get started. The last item, and probably the hardest one to get, is going to be Shattered Chain, which can start to drop once you reach Corruption 120. And here we get some increased armor, added flat void damage, increased melee damage, and more melee damage per stack of doom, so up to a 20 of total. Removal of stun and freeze on using a potion, and also stun immunity for 4 seconds after we use a potion. For the stats for this build, try to go for health, resist and critical strike avoidance for the cap. Go for strength, increase damage while channeling, plus to all resist while channeling, increase void damage, increase melee attack speed, increase critical strike chance, and also chance to shred armor on hit. And for the class specific stats, try to go for increased echo damage when a skill echoed, and also plus 2 levels of Warpath. For the idols, you want to go for 2 ornate idols with increased echo damage when a skill is echoed, and either increased melee void damage or chance to shred armor on hit here as well. We also want 2 grand idols with increased Warpath area and with increased melee void damage or chance to shred armor on hit. And some of the more noticeable blessings is going to be from the timeline The Black Sun, and here you get the chance to shred void resist on hit. Timeline Reign of Dragons will give us the critical strike avoidance up to 70%. Timeline Spirit of Fire provides chance to apply frailty on hit, and this is great to have if you don't have another source of this on your gear. And let's go over quickly the most important notes for the skills, starting with Warpath. So Warpath will make us to spin around, striking nearby enemies as we move. Void Spiral will add some melee void damage to the skill, and this will also double when we are using a two-hander. Apocalyptic Whirl will transfer the base physical damage to void, so we only deal void damage with the Warpath skill. And this will also change all the blade and ignite chance that we have on our character to time rot chance when we are using Whirlwind. Quicksilver's Wind will make it so when we are spinning with Whirlwind we gain some extra move speed. Unchained, very important to get less mana cost when we are channeling the skill. And here you can actually go for 1 point in Reckless Spin and save some couple points on Unchained here, depending on if you are capped on your elemental resistance. This one can be very great to have early on, but I would not recommend to use it once you get to the end game, unless of course you are elemental resist capped. Our remaining points in Whirling Steel full the damage multiplier, and this will also double the effect if we are using a two-hander weapon. Devouring Orb is another skill that we're using, which will boost the damage for our character and also dealing some extra damage around us as well. 1 point in Dark Moon, which will make so the Devouring Orb will now orbit around us, so it will follow us around when we are moving. Abyssal Rush will increase attack speed, cast speed and also move speed while a Devouring Orb is active. Void Adept will boost the global void damage with a more multiplier. World Rot for the increased duration and also chance to apply Time Rot. Hallowed Orb for some increased duration, and Chaotic Torrents for some more Abyssal Orbs frequency while a Devouring Orb is cast. Sigils of Hope will boost our character with some damage, both flat and increased damage. Empower and Sigil for the increased damage. 1 point in Last Wish here makes it so we have a chance to summon Sigil on kill, so just for a quality of life. Decree of Flame for fire damage per active Sigil. And Sigil of Despair will transfer the fire damage to void damage instead. The Burn Sign will give us ignite chance per active Sigil, and as I mentioned before, from the Warpath, the ignite chance will transfer to time rot chance instead. Enduring Hope, so the sigils will last longer, and Tetragram for 1 additional to the maximum sigils. Volatile Reversal will make it so we get all our mana back after we buffed ourselves with sigils and a Devouring Orb, and this will also buff our character a little bit and also make it so enemies take more damage. First we have Insipid Void Rift and also Terminal Void Rift, so we can have Void Rift on start and also arrival. Traveler's Fortitude for some cooldown recovery speed, and also Time Loss Vitality for even more cooldown recovery speed. We're using Warp Time to gain some global attack speed. Harbinger of Dust will make it so enemies take increased damage. And Food of the Worm will make it so the enemy take more void damage, depending on how many stacks of Time Rot the enemy have. The last skill is going to be Smite, and this is mainly going to be for some extra mobility. Descend will make the skill so we can teleport to the target, making it a mobility skill. Desperate Measures makes it so we can use it if we are out of mana. Righteous Fury will add some global melee fire damage. Righteous Flurry for increased attack and cast speed. And Blinding Flash for a 50% chance to blind the enemy once we use Smite. And here you have a quick preview of the passive skill tree, but for more information about the build I do recommend to go and check out the last Epoch build planner. Both for the passives and the skills you can simply use the progression bar at the bottom to easily see when and where to progress in the build. And to the left you can also find a very basic load filter on the build planner that will highlight all you need to get for both leveling and for the endgame. Link for this will be in the description. So what do you think about the Echo Warpath Void Knight? Have you tried it before or tried another version of it? Feel free to tell me in the comments below. Thanks for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this video helpful. And with that said, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!